Then you're watching the Indian Express analysis, which goes live every day at 4 p.m. on StudyIQ IS English channel. Today we are going to discuss important news and articles that I've picked up from the newspaper in addition to the yesterday's left out article also. We'll start our today's discussion by understanding the post of CBI director, because the appointment of CBI director is expected to happen, and yesterday a meeting of the collegium which is expected to select the next CBI director, it happened. So we'll understand what is the process of selecting and appointing the new CBI director. So that is relevant from our exams perspective, and it is also important from GS paper 2, because CBI is what? CBI is an investigative agencies, and automatically when certain important bodies like CBI, like others, there is a form of collegium or a committee which decides on who to appoint, and naturally this committee sees representation not just from the government but also from opposition as well as judiciary. So we'll try to understand who all are expected to decide on who will be the next CBI director. In the second article, we'll understand the concept of issuing voter ID cards, because this is an issue recently because of the terrorist attack that happened in Pahalgam. The government of India issued directions to all the state government to indicate and highlight who are the Pakistanis living illegally in India, identify them and send them back to Pakistan. So in that process, we have found out that many Pakistanis, they were living illegally in India, and not just that, they also had their own voter ID card. So having a voter ID card indirectly is a proof that you're a citizen of India. So which is very dangerous if a illegal migrant into India is possessing such card. So we'll understand the rules and regulations behind how voter ID card is issued, what happens in case you are not able to provide sufficient proof. All of this we are going to discuss. This is relevant from Representation of People Act perspective, because particularly electoral roll, when it is formed, it is done on the basis of RP Act 1950, not 1951, right? So we'll try to understand few details about how voter ID cards are issued. In the third article, we'll understand the triple test which is required to determine and provide OBC quota, particularly in the elections of local bodies, right? Local bodies like Panchayati Raj institutions, local bodies like urban local bodies. So in this case, if any state government need to provide reservation for people belonging to other backward classes, they have to go through what is known as triple test, and this triple test has been laid down by Supreme Court of India in two different cases. First is K. Krishnamurthy versus Union of India 2010, and another one in a directive which was given to state of Maharashtra. So we'll understand what this triple test is, in how does actually a particular state government determines the amount of quota that should be given to OBCs, particularly when it comes to reservations in local bodies, right? In the fourth article, we'll be understanding why are banks reluctant to lend to NBFCs, that is non-banking financial corporations. Now, yesterday there was this, even today there was this article that highlights that even despite reducing the risk weightage, the banks, they are still reluctant to lend loans and give loans to the NBFC. So we'll try to understand what risk weightage are, how this risk weightage determines the amount of loan that can be extended to any sector. In this case, that would be NBFC, and this is relevant from GS paper 3 perspective, particularly the section of banking. Okay. In the fifth article, we'll be understanding the composition of gold in a country's forex reserve, and recently we have seen that there is a trend, not just RBI but also other central banks of the other countries, they are increasingly relying on gold in order to fill their foreign exchange reserve. So why is actually foreign banks including RBI moving towards gold? What is the composition of gold in India's foreign exchange reserve? All of this we are going to discuss. This is relevant also from GS paper 3, and from prelims perspective, this is relevant from external sector. And in the last article, we'll be understanding the Bhakra Byas Management Board. This body is in news because it gave certain decision on increasing the water supply to states like Haryana, but Punjab is not agreeing to provide excess water supply to Haryana because of many circumstances. So in this regard, the role of Bhakra Byas Management Board becomes important. So we'll be understanding how water is divided between states like Punjab and then to Haryana, Rajasthan and Delhi. What is the role of Bhakra Byas Management Board, and what is the way forward in this regard? This is again relevant from governance and interstate water dispute, that is a part of polity syllabus, right? So these are the 6 articles that we are going to cover today. Sarang, Tanvi, Gokul, Rishi, Priyalata, Bhanu, good evening all. Now the usual suspects are missing today. Amar, Baga Spinks, others also. Sarang is here. And also the new additions, Tanvi, Gokul Raj came yesterday, Rishi also is a regular, Priyalata also, Bhanu also. Okay. Now the notes for this session as usual will be available on my Telegram channel. This is the Telegram channel which you need to go. It is called as ATS Live. So please go subscribe to the channel and make sure to download the notes which I'll upload immediately after the session end. Okay. So let us start our today's discussion with this first article. This appeared in the very front page of the Indian Express newspaper, and it says that the existing chief of CBI or CBI director, he may get an extension as the consensus eludes the panel, which means the panel which is responsible for selecting and appointing this CBI director, they have not reached to a consensus on who to appoint as the next CBI director. So in that case, they have agreed, according to sources of the Indian Express newspaper, that the existing chief will get an extension until the new chief is appointed. So this is the context of our today's discussion. Now the incumbent director of CBI, that is Praveen Sood, he is likely to get 1 year extension as the 3-member selection panel who's responsible again to select the person to be the next CBI director, which met at the Prime Minister's office yesterday. They deliberated on the names of few senior IPS officers. So suppose if you get an IPS after your selection, you might as well even become a director of CBI one day, right? However, as no consensus could be reached on any suggested candidates, following which the members agreed to extend Sood's tenure by 1 year. So this puts our attention to the office of which body? That is CBI's director, who is a DGP rank officer. Okay. Now about CBI. CBI was set up in 1963 by a resolution of the Ministry of Home Affairs, and this was established based on the recommendation made by Santhanam committee back in 1960s. Now the nature of CBI is that it is not a constitutional body nor it is a statutory body, because this body derives its power from another statute, that is Delhi Special Police Establishment Act of 1946. So there was no specific act that was passed to establish CBI, hence it needs to derive its power from another act. Therefore it is not statutory and it is not a constitutional body. However, it is main investigative agencies of the central government, be it for corruption, be it for any crimes that may happen. So this is the role of CBI. Also, it acts as a national central bureau or coordinator for any cases that is relating to Interpol. So suppose if Interpol needs to deal with certain culprit who is located in India, they'll automatically contact CBI, and it is the responsibility of CBI to coordinate with respective state police authorities. Okay, so therefore it is a national central bureau. Now the powers of CBI as compared to NIA, which we have already discussed, in terms of power, NIA has much more broader powers, but the terms in which NIA can investigate in a particular matter, it only relates to terrorism, whereas CBI is a general investigative agency. It can investigate white collar crimes, it can investigate even murders that might happen, it can even investigate corruption cases. Okay. Now the office of CBI is headed by an officer known with the designation of director, and he is provided with the security of tenure, that once appointed, he cannot be removed in office until a 2 years old tenure, which is given under the CVC Act of 2003. So you can see the various officials of CBI, they are deriving its power from another act, CVC 2003, because there is no particular act passed by the Indian Parliament that specifically deals with CBI. Also, Lokpal and Lokayukta Act of 2013, it amended the Delhi Police Special Establishment Act 1946 and made following changes, that is central government, they will appoint the director of CBI based on the recommendation passed by a 3-member committee. And who are included in this 3-member committee? It is headed by Prime Minister of India. It includes leader of opposition. Who is the leader of opposition right now? Rahul Gandhi, right? And the Chief Justice of India or any judge of Supreme Court who is nominated by Chief Justice of India. So these 3 people, that is Prime Minister of India, leader of opposition in Lok Sabha, as well as Chief Justice of India or any judge of Supreme Court who is nominated by it, these 3 people recommend the name and then central government appoints that person as the CBI director. Good evening, Reshma. Now, let's see if you are able to solve this particular question quickly. I'll get out of your way. Well, CBI director is appointed by the President of India on the recommendation of a selection committee. This is incorrect. He is appointed by Government of India, not President of India. So, first statement incorrect. The selection committee consists of PM, Chief Justice of India or a judge nominated by them, and the leader of opposition in the Lok Sabha. Second statement correct. Third, the tenure of CBI director is fixed for a period of 5 years. This is incorrect because it is fixed for a period of 2 years, not 5 years. So, only 2 is correct. Third and first is incorrect. Therefore, option B is the right answer. Yes, Sarang, Reshma, Bhanu, Priyalata, Tanvi, all of you are correct. Yes, Reshma, 2 years is the right answer. Now moving to this next article. This article appeared in the explain section on page 12 of the Indian Express newspaper, and you can see some of them who have been deported back to Pakistan, they say that they have Indian voter ID cards. So this is a very laughable matter in a country like India where there is no official single document that says you are a resident of India. So technically 2 documents serve as a proof of your citizenship. That is a voter ID card as well as your passport, right? So if you are holding any of these 2 documents or both of these documents, then unofficially you will be called as a citizen of India. But do you think Aadhaar is a proof of Indian citizenship? What about Aadhaar? Can anyone let me know? I'll give this answer later on. Okay. Now, following the government order in wake of the Pahalgam terror attack, hundreds of Pakistani nationals have left India this week, and also Government of India issued directions to the respective state government that please identify people of Pakistani origin who are illegally living in India. Identify them and deport them back to their home country, that is Pakistan. So in that process, when they were identifying the illegal migrants, these illegal migrants, the audacity of it that they had voter ID card, which is a proof of Indian citizenship. So many of them had Aadhaar cards, ration cards, and even voter ID cards. So this brings our attention to what is the process of issuing Aadhaar cards and voter ID card. Yes, Aadhaar is not a proof of Indian citizenship. Even a foreigner who is living in India, they can possess an Aadhaar. So Aadhaar is not officially a proof of citizenship. It is a proof of identity. It might be a proof of address, but it for sure is not a proof of Indian citizenship. Indian citizenship can be indirectly gauged by these 2 documents. Okay? Yes, Bhanu, you're correct. Now, if you read the Article 326 of the Indian Constitution, read this, what says that every Indian citizen who is aged 18 years of or above has the right to vote in elections of the Lok Sabha as well as state and union territory assemblies. So according to this particular article, what kind of a right, what is the right to vote? Is it a legal right? Is it a constitutional right? Is it a fundamental right? Please answer me quickly. What kind of a right is right to vote? Yes, because Article 326 of the Constitution itself says that when every Indian citizen who is 18 years or above, they have right to vote in elections in the Lok Sabha as well as state and union territory. Suppose if this article was there in fundamental right, then it would have been your fundamental right. But it is a normal constitutional article not mentioned in fundamental right. Therefore, it is a constitutional right. Yes, Bhanu. Yes, Reshma. Yes, Sarang. All of you are right. Now, what are the rules regarding voter ID cards? Now, if you look at Representation of People Act 1950, not 51, Section 16 of this Act says that there are many reasons for that you need to fulfill before you get your voter ID card. Suppose you are not fulfilling certain conditions, then you are not be provided voter ID card, which means you can't vote in election. So, what are those conditions which you need to qualify before you get voter ID card? Suppose if you are not a citizen of India, obviously you will not get the ID card. Similarly, if you have unsound mind and stands declared by a competent court that you are of unsound mind, then also voter ID cards will not be provided. And it is for the time being, if you are disqualified from voting under any provisions of any law of corrupt practices in connection with election, then also you will not be provided with voter ID card. So these are the only 3 conditions where you will not be provided a voter ID card. So obviously you will see, if you are only a citizen of India, then only you can get the ID card. If you are not a citizen, obviously you can't vote in the elections, because election is a process which enlists voting only from the respective citizens. Understood? Any doubt in this? Now, if you have to get your voter ID card after suppose you get your age 18, you require to fill a particular form with the Election Commission of India known as Form 6. Now, while filling the Form 6, you also have to provide, in addition to your application, regarding documents highlighting your age proof and documents which highlight your address proof, and then only after you provide these two documents, then only the Election Commission of India will give you an voter ID card. Now, applicants, they need not provide the present citizenship proof. However, this form also has a declaration that you sign before submitting it to ECI. This declaration says that you are an citizen of India, then only you will be provided. So, you need not provide any document to support your citizenship. Rather, you just need to sign this declaration which is there in the Form 6 that you are a citizen of India. In case if ECI founds that the declaration which you made was false, then the applicant can face certain legal action which is given under Section 31 of the Representation of People Act 1950, which says that in case your declaration is false, you will be punished with an imprisonment of up to 1 year or a fine of some rupees or even both of them. So, you are not required to put or give any document highlighting your citizenship. However, you have to sign a declaration, right, that I am a citizen of India, please issue me the voter ID card. And if this is found as false, then the Election Commission of India has the right to penalize you as per the Section 31 of the RP Act 1950. Now, once you submit the completed form, it becomes the responsibility of electoral registration officer to inquire into the claims and objections and issue notices of hearing when required and take the final decision. So, suppose if they have any doubt pertaining to your citizenship, the ERO might sought your appointment, say that please come and explain it to me how you are a citizen of India. And in that responsibility, obviously, it is not the ERO who will go to every house and verify the claim. This verification process is the responsibility of booth level officers who are acting under the aid and advice of ERO. They will collect the required claims and objections on behalf of ERO and submit it to the ERO that this person is a citizen or not a citizen, right? Now, according to ECI's manual, if you read, the ERO is responsible for making sure that no ineligible person is added to the electoral roll, which means only the citizens of India and the non-citizens, they are to be excluded from the electoral roll, right? So, therefore, you will see that the FIRs has been filed on respective EROs who had issued these ID cards to the non-citizens. However, if there is no objection to a new elector's applicant to check for citizenship does not come up. So, this actually happens that they already consider you a citizen until and unless there is another objection that may be filed with them. So, the onus of proof of citizenship shall initially lie on the applicant. So, suppose if they doubt you are a citizen of India, they will ask you for the proof and you have to submit the proof that I am a citizen of India. Right. So, this is for the first time the onus of proof is on you. But suppose if someone else claims that this person who is filed for a voter ID card is not a citizen, then this responsibility to cross check is with the DEO of the district, right? So, ERO can cross check with the DEO of the district where the claimants might have migrated from. So, this happens quite often that suppose someone has migrated from another state. So, the locals might feel that this person is actually illegal migrant from other countries like Bangladesh and Nepal. So, technically they shouldn't be allowed to vote. So, in this case, what the ERO does that he verifies the original residence of that person from the DEO of that district. Suppose if a person migrates from Malda to say Gurgaon, okay, and he fills for a voter ID card to be issued for him in Gurgaon. But what if that person is not able to furnish that he is a citizen of India? So, what the ERO of the district will do, he will contact DEO of Malda to ascertain whether this person who is filed for the voter ID card was indeed a resident of Malda. And if there is an objection filed against an applicant of not being a citizen, suppose if I have an objection that this person is not a migrant from Malda, rather he has come from Bangladesh. So, what I will need to do that, I will have to provide proof to ECI saying that this person is not an Indian citizen. So then the burden of proof is on the objector, that is in this case me. Okay. And whenever these objections are found to be true, the electors concerned are struck off from the electoral roll and automatically the actions will be again initiated against them in the lines that we have already understood. Now, in case a married woman who have, obviously they have changed the address, suppose if a married woman marries some other person and relocates to her in-laws, right? And as a result of marriage, but she cannot produce the documentary evidence that she is indeed a citizen of India. So in that case, what the ERO would do? ERO would ask for a proof of that, was she registered as a voter before she got married, and also the DRO will sort the proof of marriage and also the certificate issued from the headman of both villages where the woman lived before marriage and after she has come to the another village after being married. So she will have to ascertain and submit both proof of marriage as well as certificates to highlight that she indeed is a citizen of India. Then only the voter ID card will be issued. Now, recently ECI started a mission that they have asked you to link your Aadhaar card with your voter ID card so as to remove the duplication of Aadhaar and voter ID card, because in many cases we have seen that people, they have registered for voter ID cards in two different places. So automatically, technically they can give votes in two different places, which should not happen. So therefore what ECI is asking you to do is link your Aadhaar card to voter ID card so that for one Aadhaar card only one voter ID card will be issued. But does this ensure that only Indian citizen get the right to vote? The answer is no, because as you have already told me, Aadhaar is not a proof of citizenship. So you can indeed eliminate duplication of voter ID cards, but you can't eliminate that Indian citizens are actually getting right to vote just because they have linked it with Aadhaar card, because Aadhaar card can be issued to both citizens and non-citizens, right? So this is what the latest development in this regard is. Now let's see if you are able to solve this PYQ. I think most of you will be able to now. Right to vote and to be elected in India is what kind of right? This was the PYQ of 2017. And in this year, there was many controversy. What kind of a right is this? Some coaching wala said option A, some coaching wala said option B, some coaching wala said option C. But indeed, when UPSC gave their key, it was constitutional right. And obviously, why wouldn't it be constitutional right? Because Article 326 of the Indian Constitution says you have a right to vote. Okay, yes, correct. Now let's see if you are able to solve this PYQ of 2018. And you know why this question was asked in 2018? Because Aadhaar Card Act was brought in the Parliament and there was this big controversy whether this was money bill or not. So because of this, a question appeared in 2018. Well, Aadhaar card can be used as a proof of citizenship or domicile. Obviously incorrect. Once issued, Aadhaar number cannot be deactivated or omitted by the issuing authority. Who is the issuing authority of Aadhaar? UIDAI. So it can actually, after you file an application, it can temporarily and it can permanently also disable your Aadhaar card. So second statement also incorrect. Therefore, option D is the right answer. Yes, all of you have gotten this right. Bhanu, Sarang, Reshma, Amar, Priyalatta, all of you are correct. Now the questions of what is right to vote, what are different kinds of fundamental rights, what are different kind of legal rights, all of this is covered in our polity foundation classes. Now in our foundation classes, not just polity but also other subjects like economy, like environment, like geography, like history are covered. So we cover everything that is relevant from prelims to interview. For example, I take classes in economy. Okay. Now the May evening batch, the admissions are ongoing right now and it is expected to close tomorrow, that is 7th of March or 7th of May, right? To take admissions in this batch, there are 3 different options under which you can take batches: a gold pack, a diamond pack as well as platinum pack. The diamond pack is the best option because it has all the features that is available on StudyIQ platform. To take admission in these courses, what you need to do is go to our website. Click on this website. Once you go to our website, you will see this particular tile. Click on explore courses. When you click on explore courses, you need to go to UPSC IAS English. Now, the first style here is the May evening batch, which I am telling you about. Right now, you can see this is available at 40,999 rupees, right? But what if I tell you, you can get the admissions to this batch at a discounted rate, even discounts on this amount. What you need to do is you need to apply the code, which is flashing on the bottom half of your screen, that is ATS Live. How to apply the code? You need to click on add promo code. Here, you need to write ATS Live. As soon as you write ATS Live, click on apply and you'll see the discount of 7,000 rupees is applicable, and the diamond batch now becomes available at 33,999. So 40,999, it has reduced by 7,000 to 33,999. Similarly, platinum is available at 29,999 and gold at 19,999. What you need to do? Take admissions on diamond batches, because the best batch is this one because it has all the features. Now moving to the next article, this talks about triple test to determine OBC quota anywhere. So this article particularly deals with Jharkhand. The discussions which I'll have today is applicable to all the seats, right? Now this also appeared in the explain section of the Indian Express newspaper, which is on page 12. So the big question is, what is triple test and how this triple test will be applied in the states like Jharkhand to determine the quotas given to other backward classes when it comes to reservation of seat in the urban local bodies and also in Panchayati Raj institutions. Now, the context of this discussion is that Jharkhand has finished collecting data on the population of OBCs from all the districts of the state in order to determine how much quota they need to provide them for seats in urban local bodies or ULBs. Now, this data collection is the first phase or first step of what is known as triple test. Now, this triple test criteria was laid down by Supreme Court of India in various judgments. First, it was laid down in K. Krishnamurthy versus Union of India case. This judgment was passed in 2010 and then it was reiterated by the Supreme Court in Krishna Rao Gawali versus State of Maharashtra and others case in 2021. So this brings our attention. What we need to understand is how is triple test done in order to determine how the quotas will be provided. So this is the scope of our today's discussion. Now, before understanding the triple test, we need to also know how the quotas are provided to various sections of population under the local bodies election, right? Now, where the local bodies get the recognition from, they got the recognition from or constitutional recognition from 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, which was done in 1992. And this act, it provided for Article 243B, which provides for reservations for Panchayat, and Article 243T, which provides reservation for urban local bodies like municipalities. So you'll see it provides for reservation of seat for people belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes based on their population. Similarly, reservations also need to provide for 1/3 amount of seats for women across all categories. So it does not matter whether women belongs to scheduled tribe, women belongs to scheduled caste, women belongs to other backward classes, or women belongs to unreserved section. All of these women will be provided minimum amount of reservation, that would be 1/3 amount of seats. Similarly, OBC reservation, although it is not mandated by the constitution itself, however, the 73rd and 74th Amendment Act, it leaves this provision of reservation for OBC at the discretion of state government and the state legislative assembly, that they are allowed to provide for OBC reservation also in case they decide to pass a law in the respective state legislature. However, if you look at this particular provision, it does not say what is the amount of reservation that you need to provide. Here it says that reservation for SCs and ST needs to be done on the basis of their population. It says that 1/3 amount of seats needs to be provided to women. However, it does not say what amount of quota you need to provide for OBCs. It leaves this at the discretion of the respective state governments. So you will see in terms of application of the quota, this is not a mandatory quota. These two are mandated by the constitution. But if you look at Article 243D subsection 6 and 246T subsection 6, you will see that legislature of any state may also make any provisions for reservations in panchayat or offices in. So the word here is may, right? So this is 243, right? Not 246, 243. Please remember this. And also for backward classes of citizens in panchayat also it says may provide. Similarly, for backward classes of citizens in municipalities also, this states legislature of state may also make provisions for reservation. So the key word here is may. So it leaves them at the discretion of state government. Understood? Now, many states, they've enacted the laws in order to provide reservations for OBC, but when there is no particular mandate by the constitution, no directive by the government of India, therefore you will see that the reservations which were provided in Maharashtra, in Madhya Pradesh, in Tamil Nadu, they are of varying amount, as there were no uniform guidelines on how much OBC reservation could be given or how to determine a particular communities backward or not. Therefore, there is no uniform guidelines. So therefore, some states have given reservations to OBCs, some have not. Some states have given higher amount of percentage reservation, some states have given less amount of percentage reservation. So there is no uniformity. That is why this matter reached the Supreme Court of India, and Supreme Court of India in K. Krishnamurthy case, which is termed as K. Krishnamurthy versus Union of India case of 2010. In this judgment, the Supreme Court laid down 3 tests where a state government needs to fulfill before giving the quotas to the OBC section of population. It says, first, you need to set up a dedicated commission which will conduct a rigorous empirical inquiry into the nature and implications of backwardness in local bodies. Then it will also highlight what is the proportion of reservation which is required in local bodies in light of the recommendation of the constitution, so that the quotas which is provided to OBC is not less than what should be provided and it is not more than what needs to be provided. Similarly, to ensure reservations, it also needs highlighted that one of the tests in here, that combined reservations of all these 3 sections of population, that is SCs, STs and OBC together, it can't be more than 50% of the total seats. So you can provide reservation. First, you need to set up a commission which will inquire into the amount of backwardness of a particular committee. Then it will suggest how much amount of reservation you need to provide to these communities, and considering all the reservation which is provided, adding SCs, STs and OBC reservation, it can't be more than half of the seats of total seats. Understood? So these are 3 tests that was laid down by Supreme Court of India in K. Krishnamurthy case in 2010 and subsequently iterated later on in 2021 also, when Maharashtra government filed a case in Supreme Court. Now, why was this triple test needed in the first place? In this judgment, Supreme Court made a very important distinction. It says reservation, it works differently in different areas. So suppose if you provide reservation in education and employment, which is provided under Article 15 and Article 16 of the Constitution, it is very different from reservations provided for political representation. Because suppose if a community is socially and economically backward, that automatically does not mean that this community is also politically backward, because there are many communities, suppose in states like UP, where they are individual members of these communities are socially and economically indeed backward, but when they are voting in total, they have a significant political heft. They are catered to by political parties so that they are able to secure. So although these communities might be socially and economically backward, but when it comes to their political backwardness, that does not happen. So just because a group is disadvantaged socially or economically, it automatically does not mean they are politically disadvantaged section. For example, Parsi community in UP. Parsi community, although they are socially and economically backward, this is well understood, but when it comes to their voting rights, they are very much vocal. They are very much catered to by all the respective stakeholders so that the community votes for that particular party. So it does not mean that that community is politically backward, right? So therefore, different types of backwardness exist and you can't equate all these backwardness, and therefore Supreme Court brought a triple test. Now, Supreme Court also highlighted that there are different type of reservation which serves different purpose. I told you, according to Article 15 and 16, it allows reservations in educational and public employment, aiming to improve what is known as socio and economic status of the community members. But if you look at Article 243 and 243T, it provides for reservations in local self-government like Panchayat, aiming for political representation. So these are different benefits. Education and employment, it provides individual the benefits of socio and economic upliftment, but political representation, it provides benefits to community as a whole to get empowered. So these are two different benefits and these are not equal in nature. So one is an individual level benefit, another one is a community level benefit which gives community the right to make decisions. Here you only as an individual will get a benefit. So suppose if you belong to SC and ST category, you yourself will get an admission or employment in a government institution. But if you are an SC or ST, you will be able to get a reserved seat in these seats, and this benefits not just you but your entire community, right? Understood the difference? Now what is happening in Jharkhand right now? As I told you, Jharkhand is following the first step. It has set up a dedicated OBC commission in June 2023, and this commission also visited other states where the triple tests have been implemented, like states of Madhya Pradesh. Now data collection on the backwardness of people, it began in December 2024 and the deadline for this exercise was set at March 2025. However, several districts missed their submission, obviously, which happens in the government, and the complete data has reached the OBC commission only last week. Now what the commission is doing, that it is compiling the data which will be developed into a final report, and this final report will be handed over to some of the institutions which will conduct verification of this data and also will provide necessary analysis. For example, institutes like IIM, Xavier School of Management, XRRI located in Jamshedpur, and Xavier Institute of Social Service, they will examine this particular report which will be given by the commission about economic and educational conditions of the OBCs in the state, and the final report will then be submitted to state government, and according to the report by these institutions, the state government will fix the OBC quota accordingly. So you understand how this process works. This has been followed in the state of Jharkhand. Now what happened in the survey? Jharkhand, it sought the survey, and this survey collected door-to-door data about the identity of OBC voters, and it was done also to estimate the population share that they have in various urban local bodies. Now in addition to the data on population, this survey also considered the political representations of OBC in various tiers of the government. So for example, OBC office holders of mayors, panchayat committee members, as well as this committee also gathered data on how much amount of Jharkhand MPs and MLAs belongs to OBC category, and this was sought from State Election Commission. Similarly, it also included analysis of past winners of the general seats in the 2 ULB election, and all of this was done in order to ascertain whether political representation of OBC people is equal or less than their existing population. Understood? Now, why is OBC population so important in Jharkhand? You need to understand, roughly there's an estimate that OBC population constitute about 50% of the Jharkhand population. In Jharkhand, OBCs are already subcategorized into two different categories. One is a more social and educationally backward section of the OBCs, which are categorized as BC first, and the more relatively well-off ones, they are categorized as BC 2 categories. Now, there are 127 castes in the first category which are more deprived, and the better off, they consist of about 45 BCs. And in terms of the population, both BC1 and BC2s, they are eligible for reservations. However, the amount of reservations which are given, obviously, it is given higher for the backward ones as compared to the more well-off ones. And the Kudmi community, which is a subgroup of Mahato and Mahato caste in Jharkhand, they are the largest OBC community, accounting for about 15% of the electorate. So this is an ongoing development, and if and when something happens regarding to it, we'll also cover in our discussion. Now let's see if you are able to solve this particular question. Quickly. Good evening, FTY. FTY is Ayush, right? Now, the Constitution of India explicitly mandates reservations of OBC in panchayats and municipalities. Obviously incorrect. They give this discretion to the state government, so it is not explicitly mandating. Had it been reservations to SCs, STs and women, this was explicitly mandated by the Constitution. The Supreme Court has laid down a triple test to validate OBC reservations in local election. Correct. The total reservations for SCs, STs, OBCs must not exceed 50%. This is also correct. So second and third are correct. Option B is the right answer. Yes, all of you are correct. Bhanu, Sarang, Reshma, Tanvi, Priyalata, Rishi, all of you are correct. Now moving to the next article, this talks about that banks are still wary or afraid of lending to NBFCs despite restoration of risk weights. Now you understand the difference between banks and NBFCs. What makes a financial institution bank or what makes a financial institution not bank, right? Now there are two very basic differences that you need to understand. Suppose banks, they are able or they are part of payment and settlement system. And banks, they also have the ability to take demand deposits. You understand what are demand deposits? Demand deposits are saving bank deposits as well as current account deposits, right? Whereas time deposits are FD and RD. So what NBFCs can't do, they are not a part of payment and settlement system, so you can't transfer the amount of money that you have in your NBFC account to another account, right? So therefore NBFCs are not a part of payment and settlement system, and NBFCs, they also can't take demand deposit. They can take term deposit but not demand deposit. So this is the very basic difference between NBFCs and a bank. Bank can take demand deposit, banks are a part of payment and settlement system. That is why you can send your money from one bank account to another bank account, but you can't send your money from an account in NBFC to another account because they are not a part of payment and settlement. And you can't open saving bank and current account in the NBFCs also. Now coming back to our today's discussion. RBI, it had in February announced that it is reducing 25% point reduction in the risk weight on bank loans, the loans that is extended by banks to NBFCs, because NBFCs, they face liquidity crunch. They only can get term deposits like FD and RD. They can't take demand deposit from the customers. So they require money which they need to extend as loans. So obviously they also approach banks, allowing them to send loans, and banks offer NBFCs the loans. But there were certain conditions because banks were afraid to give the loan. So RBI decided to reduce the amount of risk weightage. What is risk weightage? Need not worry, I'll tell you. So banks are still wary of lending to non-bank players, specifically are the ones that are giving unsecured personal loans and the microfinance segments. The microfinance is very small amount of loans. Now risk weight, you need to understand it is a regulatory measure which is used by banks to assess the capital required to cover the risk of their loan exposures. And risk weight, it refers to capital the banks must keep aside as provisioning in order to cover any loan default. So what is provisioning? Suppose if I am giving 1 lakh rupee loan to a customer, so I'll assess what is the probability that this customer will return the loan to me. And suppose if the customer is very good and I expect that 100% I'm certain that this customer will return the loan back. So the amount of provisioning or the amount of money that I need to keep aside in case my original money does not come back, it is called as provisioning. And this provisioning automatically depends upon the health or the ability of the customer to return the money. If the customer is very uncertain to return the money, obviously I will be needing to make higher amount of provisions. So obviously the cost of loan that I am extending, if I have to make higher provisions, the cost of loan would be high. So higher the risk weight, the more capital bank needs to set aside as a provisioning requirement, and therefore it makes lending more expensive. And if RBI reduces the risk weight, automatically less capital the banks would need to be set aside as provisioning requirement, and this increases the credit flow and makes loan cheaper. Understood what is provisioning? Any doubt? Quickly. So every loan that banks give, they also need to keep certain money aside, which is known as provisioning. That suppose in case the money does not come back, bank does not face liquidity crisis. And higher the amount of provisioning, it is related because the risk of not returning the loan back. Right. Now what RBI wanted to do, that it reduced the risk weights on bank loans that banks give to NBFCs, and it was reduced by 0.25%. which depends on the credit rating, and this move was expected to boost the credit flow to the NBFCs, enabling these NBFCs to lend more to retail borrowers and small businesses. So as to increase financial inclusion, RBI wanted the banks to extend more loans to NBFCs because NBFCs then can lend loans to their customers. But what is indeed happening that among NBFCs, especially the small and mid-sized NBFCs, they are having lower credit ratings, and many NBFCs, they also have unsecured loan books. You understand what is unsecured loan book? Suppose if I extend some loan without collateral, that is an unsecured loan book. And these are the NBFCs that are facing major challenges when it comes to seeking loans from the banks, because banks are reluctant to lend it to them as they are engaged in microfinances, consumer loans, personal loans, and these kind of loans have higher probability when it comes to these loans becoming NPA. So therefore banks are also afraid, and therefore they are not extending the loans to NBFCs. Understood? Now let's see if you are able to solve this particular question. Well, risks weight, they determine the amount of capital banks must set aside based on their risk level of loan exposure. This is correct. A lower risk weight increases the capital requirements for the bank, making lending more expensive. This is opposite. Lower the risk weight, it reduces the capital requirements, making lending more cheaper. Understand? So second obviously incorrect, first right. Option A is the right answer. Most of you have gotten this right. Yes, Reshma, you're correct. Now moving to the next article, this says that RBI has added over 57 tons of gold to its forex reserves, and it has also brought 38 tons of gold from other countries back to India. So in that regard, we'll understand what is the composition of gold in India's forex reserve, why is RBI purchasing more gold and bringing more gold from foreign countries. This will be our today's discussion. Now the context of our today's discussion is that RBI has added almost 57.5 tons of gold in its foreign exchange reserve in the last fiscal year, which ended in March 2025, and the value of gold holding of RBI has increased almost by 50% due to rise in prices of gold obviously. And the country's central bank, it has also brought 38.64 tons of gold which it was holding bank in Bank of England and Bank of International Settlement, and they have brought it back to India. So with this, RBI has brought back about 88.6 tons of gold in the last 2 years. So this will understand what is the composition of gold in RBI's foreign exchange reserve and why is RBI bringing the gold back. Now first, what is a foreign exchange reserve? Foreign exchange reserve refers to the reserve that the RBI keeps in various form of financial assets. These are various kind of financial assets, I'll tell you. Now foreign exchange reserve is kept as a cushion against any potential balance of payment crisis. You understand how reserves are kept and how it increases and decreases. Suppose if there is increased foreign direct investment and increased foreign institutional investments in India. So what will happen in this case? The amount of dollars that is coming into India would be high, and this will automatically increase the value of rupee. Why value of rupee is increasing? Because of increase in foreign direct investment, because naturally when you make investments in India, you can't make investments in dollar. You need to convert that currency into the local currency, which in case is rupee, right? So as more and more foreign investment is coming into India, the demand of rupee increases. And when demand of rupee increases, automatically the value of rupee will be pushed up. But RBI does not want this to happen. Why? Because if you allow the rupee to appreciate by larger amount, automatically this will reduce your exports, because your foreign currency becoming, your domestic currency becoming more expensive automatically makes your exports less competitive in foreign market. So what RBI will do, that it will suck out or it will absorb this excess flow of dollars from the Indian market, and automatically it will reduce the supply of dollar. And where is this dollar deposited? It is deposited in the foreign exchange reserve. And similarly, if the reverse happens, RBI will increase the supply of dollar also from foreign exchange reserve. So therefore, this is the reason why foreign exchange reserve increases or decreases. Because if there is high outflow of foreign direct investment, obviously the demand for dollar will increase, and this will negatively impact your value of local currency. In order to prevent the depreciation of local currency, RBI will increase the supply of dollar, and it will do so from forex reserve. So this is the purpose why any central bank in any country maintains some kind of foreign exchange reserve. And in India, this is the responsibility of RBI as per the RBI Act 1934, that RBI is the custodian of foreign exchange reserve. Understood? You understand how foreign exchange reserve increases or decreases? Any doubt? Or should I move ahead? Now you must see that RBI maintains foreign exchange reserve in various financial assets. Okay, so what are these various financial assets? Let us try to find that one out. Now, forex reserve in India, it comprises of foreign exchange assets. Here, RBI maintains currencies like dollars, like pound, like euro, like yen. Similarly, RBI also invests in government securities of these countries also, right? So all of these are part of foreign exchange assets, also known as foreign currency assets. Now this is followed by gold. RBI also has solid gold with it. It has special drawing rights. What is special drawing rights? This is the amount of money that RBI or any central bank deposits in the International Monetary Fund as a requirement of its quota. So the amount of quota any country has, in proportion to that, that country needs to maintain some kind of funds with IMF, which is also counted in our foreign exchange reserve. And over and above money which you deposit with IMF, suppose if your quota requirement is $10 billion, which you need to keep with IMF, but suppose RBI is keeping $12 billion. So these excess over and above what is quota, that is $2 billion, it will be counted in reverse transposition. So these are the four constituents of foreign exchange reserve in India: foreign exchange assets or foreign currency assets, gold, SDRs and RTPs. Now in terms of its composition, highest composition is that of foreign exchange asset. This is of April 25th April 2025 data, which is the latest one available on RBI website. So as per the latest data, India's foreign exchange reserve, 84.38% of it constitutes of foreign exchange assets. Gold is amounting to 12.26%, SDR is 2.7% and RTP is 0.66%. Right. Now, the RBI presently, as of March 2025, it is holding how much gold? It is holding 879.59 metric tons of gold. Out of these 879.59, 511 metric tons are held in India. 348.62 metric tons of gold is kept in safe custody in Bank of England and Bank of International Settlement. These are kept there, but it belongs to RBI. Similarly, almost 19 metric tons is held in form of various gold deposits like certificates. Okay. Now, this was very different last year in March 2024. In March last year, the amount of gold that India had or RBI had was 822.10 metric tons. So you see, in the absolute amount also it has increased in 1 year. Similarly, amount of gold that was held domestically, right now it is 511.99, almost 512 metric ton. Earlier this was only 408 metric ton. So it was more in foreign deposits. Now RBI has brought them back. Therefore, the domestic gold has increased from 408.31 to 511.9. Similarly, the amount of gold, total amount of gold that RBI has also has increased from 822 to 879. Understood these trends? Now, in terms of value, the share of gold also in total foreign exchange, last year in September 2024, it was just 9.32%. Now we have understood in end April 2025, it has increased to 12.26%, which means RBI is keeping more gold in its foreign exchange reserve. And according to World Gold Council, central banks across the world has more appetite for gold, and this has reached a significant milestone. So does RBI has the largest amount of gold in terms of central bank in the world? The answer is no, because Germany's central bank has more than 3.3 33.51 tons of gold. Italy has more than 2,451 tons. France has 2,437 tons, and China has 2,292 tons. So these are the countries that are major holders of gold. And compared this with RBI, RBI is how much right now? 880 metric tons. Understood? Now, why are central banks across the world accumulating gold? First of all, they are looking to diversify their reserves. Earlier, most of the reserves were kept in gold. Now, they are also adding gold to this mix in order to reduce their reliance on any single asset on currency. And mostly, they are reducing their reliance on dollars and government securities of the US government. Also, gold has it is considered as a safe haven asset, because in terms of geopolitical tension or economic turmoil, obviously people look to sell off their currencies and they increase their investment in gold. So therefore, in this kind of a geopolitical tension which is existing right now in Russia, Ukraine, in Israel, Hamas, in these cases across the world, there is greater propensity to invest in gold. Similarly, countries across the world is reducing their dependence on US dollar, because what happened with Russia? US imposed certain economic and financial sanctions on Russia, and because of that, Russia was unable to use dollars that it had in its own possession. Similarly, Russian government, whatever government securities of US it was holding, it was unable to use them in the market because of economic sanctions. So this put many countries at risk, saying that now they have imposed sanctions on Russia. What if tomorrow US decides to impose sanctions on us? So whatever amount of dollars and government securities of United States which we possess, we won't be able to use them. So therefore, they are moving away from dollars and government securities of US government, and naturally here gold is a better option. So therefore, they are increasing their reliance on gold. Therefore, it provides them the store of value, and international transactions also you can use gold. And therefore, many countries, they are also hedging it against the inflation and currency volatility, because in recent times we have seen the value of dollars has reduced by a lot of value because of increased tariff and expected inflation in the US economy. So all of these factors in total are contributing to the fact that globally the central banks, they are possessing more and more gold, and they are reducing their dependence on dollars and government securities of US market. Understood? Any doubt up till now? Now let's see if you are able to solve these PYQs. First PYQs of 2013, which of the following items is or are included in the India's foreign exchange reserves? C. Well, foreign currency assets loan from World Bank. ये कहाँ से आया? Incorrect. Foreign currency assets, gold holding of RBI and SDRs. Option B is the correct answer. This 2016, which of the term best describes import cover, sometimes seen in the news? Well, import cover is the term which says, using a foreign exchange reserve, how much import can you make, or how long can you keep on your imports using only your foreign exchange reserve. So this is the identity or factor determining the health of foreign exchange reserve. And in India's case, this is 11 months right now, that India can import everything for 11 months using just its foreign exchange reserve. Therefore, option D is the right answer. Now let's see if you are able to solve this question quickly. No, IMF only provides loans to countries based on their quotas and whatever deposit they have made, not regarding their country's gold reserve. Other bodies do. Well, at that time, I know why we are asking the question. What happened earlier na, that RBI or Government of India did not have the cash or dollars to keep or give the IMF as a SDR requirement. So what Government of India did, that instead of cash, they sent gold, that keep this as our SDR requirement and provide us the loans. Understood? Now, what is reverse transaction? I told you that countries have different quotas in IMF, and according to the quota, they have to deposit their money in the IMF, right? So, suppose theoretically, as per the Indian quota, India needs to deposit $10 billion as a part of its SDR requirement with IMF, right? But what if India has too much money? India says, I am providing you $12 billion. So, this is $2 billion more than what is already required, right? So, this 10 will be counted as India's SDR, and excess $2 billion which it has provided to IMF, it will be called as reverse transposition. Understood? Well, IMF quota is determined by the percentage of voting share. India has approximately 2.96% of voting share. So, the total amount of SDR amount, according to it, India will have to provide 2.96% of the money, right? So, suppose if IMF determines that my SDR will be $100 billion worth it, right? And India has 2.96% votes in IMF, right? So, in that case, India will be providing how much SDR? $2.96 billion, right? This is how SDR is decided. Understood? Now, tell me this answer. Department of Economic Affairs under Ministry of Finance is the custodian of foreign exchange reserve. Incorrect. RBI is the custodian. Gold forms the largest component of India's foreign exchange reserve. Incorrect. It is FCAs. And increase in prices of gold will negatively affect India's foreign reserves. Again, incorrect, because when prices of gold increases, automatically whatever gold RBI possesses, the prices of that gold also increases. So, it will positively impact. Right. So, third incorrect. Second incorrect, first incorrect, option D is the right answer. Most of you have gotten this right. Understood, Bhanu, how quota is determined? And Eshon, you understood how gold is provided as SDR, as I gave you the India's example. So, again, 5 p.m. has passed out. We don't have time for a last article. Do not worry, I will cover this article tomorrow, okay? Now, my focus was on solving today's doubts, not to persist those doubts, okay? So, we'll discuss this tomorrow, need not worry. I'll end this session, okay? It is already 5:04. So, please have a very good evening. No need to worry, I'll discuss this article first thing tomorrow. First article will be this. Okay.